Hello and welcome to this video where we'll look at doing the score. Now, I'm going to improve the score later on with showing the icons, but for the moment I've just placed in a simple text box with just a number. And that's always a good way when you're creating a game, is to get the basics down, and then you can always, add on to it or sort of, make it a bit fancier as you work through it. But if, you get the basics down, then at least you've got that structure, and that can be sort of one of those, sort of forward or dream, additions, but sort of as you update it and add another version. But the key thing is you've got the basic thing, basic function going. So I'll just show you what it works here. Shooting. Okay, so we know that the lives are showing up. Now I die, the lives have gone down, and then I've got a new character. Okay, and then I can play. I haven't put a game over yet. Okay, and I'll probably just leave that for you to do. But once I get to 0, then there's sort of a condition, and now nothing shows up. Okay, the game continues to play, but there's no, the game's basically over. So how did I create this? Well, not too much different than what we did for the score text. There's a lot of similarities there. First things first, obviously, in the canvas, I've added a life text as well. I've just moved it over to the right, and I put in lives text there, and basically I set it to the same height at -40 down from the right corner, and then set the same, the same font size and font as we did for the score text. All right, so that's pretty straightforward there. Now, in terms of our scripts, just trying to remember now, all I really did was, work with the game controller and work with our dying animation, I believe, to get that to work. So I'll just show you what's going on here. All right, so what did we do here? Well, I've added just like we did for score, I've got a current player lives and player lives as the text. And this one here, the sprite player icon, I've just been sort of playing around with it. I haven't got that done yet. Okay, but these two here, okay, you'll need. I'm not sure about the transform. I'll have to go double check my script there. At the start, current lives is equal to 3. Okay, so we start off with that 3 lives, and then I've got that to string. So again, lots of parallels there with the player score text. And then I also created another, function called change player lives. Now I sort of went back and what am I going to call this? Subtract player lives. But then I thought, well, maybe I want to add a life as well. So I've made that a little bit more ambiguous in terms of its name, and I haven't got that functionality down, but I think change player lives would be a good name for it. And I've set my lives. So again, this might be a negative one, it might be a positive one if I was going to increase the lives. Because what happens here? Well, actually, I would probably do a subtract a negative to make it increase. Anyways, current player lives, we're subtracting the lives that we bring in. And then, of course, we just update the text. And I was sort of working on this to get it to display the icon, but I haven't quite got that yet. All right, so that's all we have to do for the player or the game controller text. Now, to get us to count, okay, just like we did with the add score, we have to call the change player lives from the other script. And I believe we put that on the player movement script. Let me just double check. Okay, so did we just see? Yep, there we go. Okay, so what we've got, just like we did before, and you should be getting good at this. I just basically copied and pasted from those other ones where we had to add the score. I copied this in, okay, and then also making sure that I called the public or created a variable for the game controller called lowercase game controller, and it finds it at the start of the game. From there, okay, so now it's got the game controller script. I'm not going to go over this because we've seen it many times. Now that we've got access to that game controller script, so when we're hit with the enemy, I instantiate the die animation, which we've done before, and then I do the game controller, change player lives, so I'm decrementing. That's going to be 1. I think we set it up there. And then we destroy the game object. Now notice here I'm not instantiating, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay. Well, I'll explain it right now, actually. If we put it here, what's going to happen is that we're going to get the die animation instantiated and the new player instantiated basically at the same time, and we don't want that. We want them, the new player to appear after the die animation. So once you've got that done here, and really it's just one line of script, okay, we'll go look at the die animation. And so the die animation, these are the 3 that I added. So again, I've got a reference to the game controller script. I've got a player start transform. I'm not sure if I use that. And a public game object player. I probably did, actually. And so again, we've got a reference to the game controller script. Okay, copy and pasted. And then down here, okay, this was our flipping of it. And basically right here, so else if the die counter was greater than 25, and that was our length of our flipping back and forth of our animation, we're going to destroy the game object. Okay, so that's destroying the die animation. And if our game controller.current player lives is greater than 0, and that's why I had to grab the game controller, because I wanted to make sure that I still had lives, and if I did, I'm going to instantiate that player. Now, here I actually, that's what I did. So this actually up here, sorry, I don't need anymore. And the trouble I was having was that because this is on a, it is on the, it's like a prefab that's actually not in the game. It didn't like me trying to put in a current game transform there. So all I did was simply choose the position, so a new vector 2, so that's the position there, and I just looked to see where the start was basically of the player in the center, and then no rotation. And so right here, that's if we've got lives, it will instantiate the new player. Okay, if not, right, if we don't have lives, then there's going to be some sort of game over, and I haven't put that in yet. All right, and that's basically it. Okay, so like I said, there's so many similarities here between getting the score to work and getting this death, their die sequence to work and keeping track of the lives. I don't want to go into too much depth here because I think you should start seeing that pattern. And I think the key thing is that you really see how effective and how useful it is to be able to get the scripts to communicate with each other, and really how easy it is. I mean, there's really just this sort of I don't know what you call boilerplate script that would be good to just have anywhere or sort of saved so that you could always use that when you want to have scripts communicate with each other. All right, so I think that's all I need to say here. Like I said, I'll probably come back and get icons for lives to show up rather than just the number, because I'd like to see how that would work. I think that would be an effective means of conveying how many lives there are. And apart from that, we're basically done the Space Invaders game. Obviously, we could set up our more rows of enemies. You might want to even just change the appearance here, add maybe a third, protector, okay, a shield. And the other thing is creating another level. And so I'll probably go in and look at that as well. I'll work on this a little bit and then see how we could institute a new level. Couple things, again, I guess there's stretch goals that I'd like to do. Like I said, improve those so they're icons. I'd like to have it somehow speed up in the second level and the third level and increase the frequency of the firing. Look at that. I'd also like to Music I would put in, but I'll probably leave that for you. The one I'd like is sort of a leaderboard so that you could see who has the high score, and see if you can get that to exist not only between scenes, but also, would it save it a little bit on the memory on the computer so that when you come back, your initials are still there for who, has the highest score. Because that used to be the big thing, is you look at the leaderboard and see, did you get on the top 10? All right, and so that was the old school way of, you're showing off to your friends that, look, I was on the screen here. My name is on the screen. I'm number 2 or whatever it was. All right, so we'll end this here. I hope you can get your lives working, and we will see you later.